Hey everybody! I recently hit a bit of a reading slump, so I decided to go back and try all the reading tips I know, and I'm here to tell you all about them in case you need some reading motivation. So today I'm going to share 5 tips with you, and in 2 weeks, part 2 will come up where I'll share with you 5 more. Now, most of these tips are not just random tricks. They're backed by psychology and learning science research, and though they might seem small, they can make a huge difference. And you can also apply them to other things you want to do but struggle to start. So, grab your favorite book, perhaps a cozy drink, and let's jump in. Tip 1. The 15-minute rule. There was a time when I could read for a whole day or an entire evening without thinking twice. Lately though, I found myself planning days like that and then never actually following through. And it made me feel a bit lost, and I even started questioning whether I still enjoyed reading. I thought something was wrong because I used to do it so easily. But then I realized I had just been looking at it the wrong way. Because after a long day or week, it makes sense that my brain wants to shut down. The easiest thing in front of me is to doom scroll or watch some brain-numbing shows, and sometimes reading just feels like a heavy task in comparison. One thing that helped me get past that was the 15-minute reading rule. Basically, if I give myself the whole evening to read, my brain treats it like a massive, intimidating task. But if I say I'll just read for 15 minutes, suddenly the task doesn't feel like such of a big deal. My resistance drops and it's like lowering the effort my brain needs to get going, so starting becomes much easier. And studies show that when you plan tasks in manageable chunks, like reading for 15 minutes instead of a whole weekend, these short structured sessions can help you feel less anxious about starting, focus better while you read, and follow through more consistently. Now, for readers, especially if you have ADHD or tend to procrastinate, it's a game changer. Instead of thinking I need to finish a whole chapter, you can think I'll just read until the timer goes off. And once you start, you know that more often than not, you'll keep going longer than 15 minutes anyway. Tip number 2. Habit stacking. Instead of trying to find time to read, I like to attach reading to something I already do. For me, that's drinking my morning coffee or when I'm winding down at night before falling asleep. This is called habit stacking, sometimes also called habit pairing, and there are many studies on habits that support this. Basically, new habits stick best when they're layered on top of things your brain already does automatically. So if you attach reading to something you already do, it feels natural. Your brain thinks, this is just part of my routine, and suddenly reading isn't a task or a chore, it's just part of your day. Tip number 3. Prime your brain before you read. This is mostly for nonfiction, but you can use it when reading fiction too, and it will help you stay more engaged with the text. I personally use it more often when reading nonfiction, but if I plan to write or talk about a fiction book, I'll do it there as well to stay focused. So before I dive into a chapter, I skim it first. I'm looking at headings, bolded words, the first sentences, or read a quick summary. It's a cognitive shortcut called priming. By scanning the structure first, my brain builds a mental map of what's coming, and it makes reading easier and helps the information stick better. I also use the classic method called SQ3R, created by psychologist Francis Robinson in the 40s. It's a 5-step reading and studying technique, and the abbreviation stands for survey, question, read, recite, and review. So survey is when I skim the chapter to get the big picture. I check titles, the introduction, the conclusion, and things like that. Question is when I turn headings into questions. What do I think this section will answer? And I write down anything I'm curious about. Then it's time to read. I read actively to find the answers. I highlight, take notes, paraphrase, really make it my own using my scribe annotation system, which I talked about in another video, and I'll link it down below. Recite is when I pause and explain the key ideas to myself in my own words, and if I can't recall something, I check it again. Lastly, I review, I go over my notes and questions to make sure I understand the chapter as a whole. My brain loves patterns, and I found that this priming gives it the structure it craves. It's like giving my brain a little map before the journey to guide me, and a little sort of trailer or promo to pick my interest and keep me engaged. Then reading feels smoother, faster, and much more enjoyable. Almost like a little game your brain wants to keep playing. Tip number 4, set a reading cue. One of the simplest reading tips I've found super effective is having a consistent reading spot. For me, it's my little corner with my favorite blanket and my comfy chair that I don't want to get up from. Behavioral psychology tells us that our environment can trigger habits. Research suggests that about 40 to 45% of our daily actions are habitual, meaning we perform them almost automatically without consciously thinking about them. Many of these habits are triggered by our surroundings and not by motivation. So when I always read in the same spot, my brain thinks this is where we read. When I keep a book I want to read next to me, I'm much more likely to reach for it. Or when I light a specific scented candle or drink a particular drink while I read, those small context cues make it so much easier to start. Even if I don't feel like reading, just sitting in my spot puts me into my reading mindset. The environment does a lot of the work for me. Tip number 5, the 1-page rule. No 0 days. I have another rule for myself, and it's to read just 1 page a day with no 0 days. This works like magic. Because my mind knows there are no 0 days, there's no arguing or questioning, it just gets done. And I get to read at least 1 page a day, and forward is forward, you guys. On days when I feel low energy, I still read that 1 page and keep the habit alive. On days when I'm feeling motivated, that 1 page usually turns into several chapters. The key is consistency. Showing up every day matters way more than how much I read. This idea comes from micro habits, tiny, almost effortless actions that keep a behavior going. Motivation research shows that the hardest part of any task is simply starting. And by starting small, literally just 1 page, or the 15-minute reading rule we talked about earlier, my brain doesn't feel threatened and procrastination doesn't stand a chance. Over time, these little pages adds up, especially when reading fiction. After a while, you get into the plot and you just can't put the book down. So just remember that consistency beats intensity every single time. So these are the things I did to get out of my reading slump and get back into my reading habit. Are you going to try any of these? If so, let me know in the comments which one are you going to try. I can't wait to see what works for you. If you want 5 more reading tips, part 2 is coming in 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!